Go for it. Go get a seat. Yeah, do it. Right there.
Hello, everybody. How we doing? Yeah, exactly. Y'all are here for the Lost Boys panel, right? Yeah, exactly. Well, how are y'all doing? And welcome to the Big Terror Con here. And we appreciate y'all making your time and way here to the room to have fun with not one, not two, but three actors from the Lost Boys movie. Yes, exactly. They'll be up here momentarily. I'll bring them up in just a few minutes, but we got to go over some housekeeping. So here is the microphone right here in the middle. I will let y'all know when it's time for y'all to start lining up, okay? I'll look at y'all and say, okay, it's time, we're going to line up, and then we'll turn it over for you guys, all right? I'll try to keep my time with them at minimum because I know there's three of them and y'all have a lot of questions. I know you have a lot of questions for them. You told me that. So we'll bring them up shortly. The questions, keep them, PG, nothing crazy, all right? We have to ask you to leave the mic, all right? So keep that in mind. Also, too, where's my moderator? Yeah, there's a microphone moderator right there. She will be in charge of keeping the line going, all right? But we have a lot of guests here. You can see y'all here, so try to keep the questions moving. For those who don't know me, my name is Jeff Garcia. I work with Ken's 5 San Antonio, and I'm pretty much all the MCs for, well, I am the MC for mostly all the cons here in San Antonio, from Big Texas to this one, Riverwalk Anime, so on and so forth. So I see some familiar faces, good to see all of them. But enough about me, more about them, right? Who's ready for the Lost Boys?
Yeah.
Let me hear that a little better. Come on, get a little louder. Get a little louder. All right, that's how I like to hear. You got to give them a big San Antonio welcome. Let's go to bring in our guest, the Lost Boys themselves, Mr. Jason Patrick. Where's Jason? There he is. Woo! Welcome. Welcome to the weekend. Yes. Up next, Mr. Billy Worth. Where's Billy? Hello, Billy. How you doing? Welcome. Yes. And last but not least, Mr. Jameson Newlander. Where's Jameson? Yeah. Welcome, Mr. Andrew. Good stuff. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'll get the note from the engineers. Sit down. Yeah, bring in the camera. Sit down. First of all, welcome to San Antonio, everybody. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. First time here?
No, I've been here a couple of times.
A couple times, yeah? Yeah, what brought you to San Antonio for these last two times?
I think I did a con,
Did a con?
here one time years ago, and then did we do something recently, a couple of years ago?
You guys got married here, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, you
No,
got married here? Yeah.
we were, I've done 2 conventions here in the last, maybe 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
And you probably did one of them, that's probably why you...
Yeah. Who are you, Jason? First time here?
No, I've been here.
Yeah, I think it's because it's called the Alamo movie, right? That'll do it. Yeah, exactly, yes. Alamo movie, everybody, yes. I just read a note about you. Grew up in Queens, is that correct? Queens here? Sunnyside.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, what about you?
Flushing.
All right, you're my neighbor down the way. You're on number 7 train there. The express or the local stop one? Yeah, exactly. Well, again, welcome to San Antonio. We're glad to have you all here for the first ever TerraCon here in San Antonio. But, before I brought you on the stage, I was talking to some of the fans here. I asked them, well, why are you excited for this panel? What is it about the Lost Boys? They're almost lost for words. They said, because it's the Lost Boys. That was it. I'll start with you. When you hear the fan love still after all these years that passed, what does that mean for you, knowing you were a part of that?
I feel like, I wasn't really an industry kid, like the Corys and, I wasn't famous at that point. And it was just an amazing experience for me. And the fact that we created something that's now this amazing experience for the people who are watching it. It just means a lot. It's just this love that kind of goes both ways.
Right.
Is how I
Yeah.
feel.
What about you?
Yeah, it was my first big feature film, and this ride has just been unbelievable. You
Yeah.
know, what is it, 36, 37, it's 38,
Yeah.
38 years later, and I think the film is bigger than ever.
Yeah.
You know, I think so.
Yeah.
And it just keeps growing, and it's just been a blessing, and just
Sure.
great to see these guys every time we do
Yeah.
one of these, and meet all you people. You know, it's just been an incredible ride.
Yeah. Jason, he mentioned right now, he goes, it keeps growing. The movie keeps growing. The fandom gets growing. Why do you think that is?
Because parents pass it down to their kids.
Yeah. Seriously. Yeah. Yeah.
There's just not many movies around that parents or kids actually want to sit with their parents and watch movies.
Sure.
And this is one of them. And I think because, aside from it's sort of a horror movie starter kit for people in that, is that it seems to affect people. They have real specific nostalgic memories of their youth.
Right.
Because it's a vampire movie, but it's really about family and alienation and trying to grow up and
Right, yeah.
trying to be part of something. So from what I've just heard from people, that means a lot to them, and they pass it down, and that's really why it's gotten much, much bigger.
Absolutely. Did you specifically audition for Michael? How did that whole process go for you to become part of the Lost Boys?
Yeah, I went in for an audition because I wanted to meet this casting director, and I went in and met Joel, and literally that day he wanted me to do it,
Yeah.
and I didn't want to do it.
You did not want to do it?
No.
Oh, why is that?
Well, you see, you got to understand, everybody looks at the Lost Boys now and they say, why wouldn't you want to be the Lost Boys? There was no such thing as the Lost Boys. No one had ever done that makeup before. No one had ever done that, the music, the style, all those things. Teen vampire movies were kind of cheesy.
Yeah.
And the script wasn't very good. So, just didn't want to do it.
Yeah. You guys will see the hindsight's 2020 now, right? Yeah.
Well, no, Joel was really good. He stayed on me. I mean, on me again and again, and for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, months actually. And then he said, he gave me a lot of freedom to create my character. At 19 to be able to write your dialogue and work on scenes. That was a great opportunity. So I decided to do it, and it's a credit to him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did I hear also that like where Haim was running up the stairs about widow mom finds out and stuff, that was like some of your ideas?
Well, yeah, I wanted to have a real relationship with my brother where you believe we were brothers. So we spent a lot of time together before filming. And so Joel let us do all that kind of stuff, just come up with our own sort of dialogue. So you really believe that they were, because I think if that relationship between those two isn't solid, the movie doesn't work. Because you have to have something that's real to then believe the fantastical.
Yeah, exactly. Would you consider the Lost Boys kind of a pioneer in this whole vampire thing? Because you fast forward to today, it's pretty much not saturated, but there's plenty of vampire-theme-based movies out there.
Yeah, I mean, I think before that, the Bela Lugosi's and, there was either the really intense old-time vampires or there was a send-up of vampires. There was a spoof of it, like Love at First Bite. It was like just a couple years before it, I think. And so I think there was this vision that Joel had that it could go this way, that these vampires could be, that these, and it was the 80s, gangs were a thing in, I think probably all around, but definitely in LA. And, that these kids joined this gang in a way, that's what it was. And so, yeah, I think things like Buffy, things like Twilight, I think all come out of Lost Boys and saying, oh, we can do it this way. We can make this a metaphor for growing up. We can make this a metaphor for being in high school, so.
Absolutely.
Sort of blended genres. It was one of the first films. You had the Warriors or whatever, so you got the gang element, but then you got the humor and the music. There were a lot of elements and really good narrative storytelling. And like Jason was saying, the alienated youth, first love, single motherhood. So it had a real aesthetic of coolness and music and comedy and drama, and sort of set the tone for movies to come after. But I think the conventional horror film or vampire film prior to this was maybe there were something like it, but nothing really, not like this.
It was almost pioneering, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Did you audition for Dwayne? How did that all work out? Yeah.
I went in and met Joel and Dick Donner in New York City, and I read for, I think, David, and Joel said, "You're not going to play David." But he said, "But I'm going to put you in the film." And I was happy, just, he said, "You're not going to have a lot of lines, but this is going to change your life." I mean, he really did say that you're going to be featured, and I was cool with that. And, it was, then this is my first lead co-lead or a big studio movie. And, he just said, Cameron's going to find you. I was happy not to have lines. I was so green and so new and so nervous that just being in the scenes and trying to be real and present was all I could have handled at the time. But it was great, acting school for me.
Sure.
To be around these guys that were seasoned actors and just work off of them. And then Brooke McCarter and I had the same agent in New York, and when I flew out to California, I hadn't met him yet. He picked me up at the airport and took me around, and we started our sort of friendship, and that made me comfortable in the scenes that we had together. But yeah, it was an incredible.
And what does it feel like for you, knowing your character has now become a fan favorite now, almost like seeing that out there?
I mean, I think a lot of it, because I had very little to say, there was a mystery about him, and I think that was to my advantage, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Were there any scenes in filming that you found kind of challenging for you, difficult to work?
Yeah, there are two things I think of with that question. It's like, first of all, the scene where all the slime came out of the vampire guts came out of the bathroom, and all the faucets and everything. That was really difficult to shoot because we had to sit in like maybe this inch, like the 7 inches thick of slime. Me and Corey, because you think, okay, it's what we see in the movie is only part of it. There's between takes where they're adjusting lights and everything. We're just sitting in this puddle of slime, And I thought, was this just me remembering it that way? And I talked to Feldman about it, and he was like, "Oh no, it was really gross," So that was hard. There was also this one thing where I couldn't get this line right in the comic book store, and Joel, because I wasn't this industry kid, I was really, making sure I was, had my lines down, and I was a good kid. I was, trying to be a real pro. And I couldn't get this line, and it was only one of 2 times that Joel was mad at me, because he could get mad at certainly the Corys. He got Feldman especially. And it's like it was really hard. It was really hard. That was really hard. Just trying to get that line and looking at Joel and just being like, he's pissed at me, and I want to get this right, and I never did get it right. They cut it.
What was it about that line that got you?
So the line was this. The line was, "My brother and I are on a mission to destroy all vampires, including your brother, if we have to."
You got to do that better.
I still can't get it.
Try seriously.
Should I really try it?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. "My brother and I are on a mission to destroy all vampires, including your brother, if we have to."
All right.
Better.
That's better.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
So I took a little too much time with it. Like I was like, "My brother and I," and he was like, "No, cut, no," and he was right. I don't know why I was taking that time. And generally I was on those lines, but just that one time,
Yeah. What about you, Jason? Any scenes that were different?
I couldn't do that line either.
No.
No.
Never tried.
I can't do the justice.
But any difficult, challenging scenes you have to work with?
The physical stuff, because everybody now, all the movies are computer generated, but all those effects we had to do real, and you couldn't erase the wires. I mean, it's great to see Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible. He does those amazing things, but he is wired up in everything.
Yeah.
And then they erase the wires, and it looks cool. But back then, all that stuff with Kiefer flying and all that, or flying into my room, there are these wires where you're balancing your body and you're trying to do all this stuff. And they have to light it in a way, but then when you turn, a little bit of glint comes, and there's wire. So when you're hanging up there for all day or a day and a half, those are the challenging things. But it's amazing when you see the movie now, you would never see any of that. And I think those practical effects make it more effective.
Yeah. You think that's what's missing a lot in today's?
Oh, absolutely. I think people just, you can go on YouTube and see some kid with an app make an explosion. So movies aren't exciting in that way anymore. They used to be.
Yeah. Billy, what about you? You didn't have a lot of speaking on there, but did you find anything challenging there for you? Just kind of keeping it quiet? And,
You know, I mean, I love the physicality of the part as well. I mean, we got to ride motorcycles a little bit. That was a lot of fun. You know, stunts flying out of the fireplace was cool. But the real challenge was just, you know, just staying calm and cool, you know, and trying to keep the nerves at bay. But what helped me a lot was having Laddie on the back of my motorcycle, and he was the guy, you know, I had to look out for. And you know, he was so cool, 9-year-old kid. He was like not nervous at all. And just bonding with him, and then with Brooke, you know, but the overall movie was, you know, just a lot of fun. I had a blast.
Yeah. And you stayed on with the franchise, right?
No, I was not.
No, you did.
Jameson.
Yeah, that's right, Jameson, you did. Yeah. Tell us about that, continuing that legacy through the other movies. And I believe there was a TV series, right? At one point, yeah.
There wasn't actually a TV series, but there's a lot of talk.
It's not a pilot, and it didn't do well. They didn't air it, and then they went and tried to do it again. That didn't work either. They had done 2 sequels, or prequels, or sequels, straight to video, just to capitalize on the brand. I think they didn't really put a lot of effort into it. I think they're doing another feature, and they're doing a Broadway musical.
Oh, nice, nice. What you were saying?
Yeah, well, so it was a little frustrating that they didn't do it right. You know, it was. I think they're fine movies. The second, the Tribe and the Thirst, and the actors in it. You know, hats off to them. They did a good job trying to come into this franchise. But I don't know what Warner Brothers was thinking, not having the original cast do it. That's what the fans wanted. Yeah. And so the second one, it did really well on DVD, and they were like, oh, it's doing really well on DVD. It's like, yeah, it did well because everyone thought the original cast was in it, and then it just killed it for a lot of people that it wasn't. So they tried to bring it back a little bit with the third one. They had, well, I mean, Feldman was in the second one, and I think he did a great job. And then the third one, bringing the 2 of us back, that was fun, and that I think was kind of cool. And you know, again, I try to, if people haven't seen it, I try to warn them, it's not the first one. It's not that lightning in a bottle, like, great thing. It's cool, and it's fun, and it's neat to see the Frog Brothers again. And I'd love to do more of that stuff. Feldman and I are, I mean, pitching, we're not quite pitching, but we're conceptualizing, trying to get a Frog Brothers show into the minds of Warner Brothers. And it's, you know, right now it doesn't have traction, but the fans all seem to think it's a cool idea, and you know, we'd love to do it. So, you know, so it's mixed. I really wish they had done it right earlier, and then even if they were going to do it later, you know, that was around 20-year anniversary that they did it. I think even then they could have done it with bringing back more of the original cast.
Absolutely. Did you mention a Broadway show?
Yeah, they're doing a Broadway musical. I think they've cast it, and G. Tom, who wrote Cry Little Sister, his song is going to be in the play. And I think it's scheduled for 2026.
Okay.
That should be cool. I think it could be cool.
That's soon. Yeah. Are you guys involved in that or anything? No?
I'm not involved. I mean, you know, it's like I was thinking, like, oh, is that going to be cool? And I talked to some fans who were like, you know what, that'll get me to go to Broadway. And I was like, that's kind of a cool idea. You know, that it'll get some people to go to a Broadway show that wouldn't have. And so hopefully they'll do an awesome job with it. I'm excited to see it.
That sounds good. Well, you know, you're talking again to some of the fans before I brought you on stage. I was like, well, it's the OG, you know, it's the OG vampire movie. This is the one we grew up on, you know, watching it and everything. What do you think goes into a good vampire movie? Leave that to any of the 3 guys.
So one of the things that I think went into this vampire movie being really good is that people, the actors and, you know, the director and, you know, a lot of people really weren't thinking of it as, hey, this is a vampire movie. You know, I hear these guys talk about it, especially I've heard Jason talk about it a lot, where this was this relationship with these guys, the brothers and the family, and they weren't winking to the camera like, hey, we're vampires. Or there was none of that. It was just trying to create this world that then could be skewed with vampires. And I think that's part of the success of it.
Yeah. What about you?
I mean, I'll just share with Jason, I've heard you share about just the peeling of the onion slowly, the narrative story being told, developing the relationship between the brothers, and then you don't really see the vampires in full regalia in their vampire mode until like what, 20, 30 minutes into the film? Longer.
Yeah.
And so you really get this sense of maybe something, you see the sign, you know, you know this is a vampire movie, but you don't see him, so it builds the tension. And it's really good storytelling, and the film had great creators throughout. Michael Chapman, who was the cinematographer, he had done Raging Bull and Taxi Driver,
Right.
you know, and the production designer, Bo Welch, you know, is just a real great artist creating the look, and you know, there's so many elements of the highest level of quality of workman and that Joel had brought together. So, you know, when you have all that and you got great actors,